Rob Martin, it's like seeing an old friend coming back here today to your beautiful home.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a little while. We thought it was time to do a catch-up, and there are a few things particularly I want to talk about your time in the Freedom Village in Wellington, especially on that terrible day, that March the 2nd. But we'll talk about the lovely day beforehand before we talk about that. And also want to talk about government help for you, or any help at all from the system because of this jab injury. But Rob, I begin by saying that your beautiful carved sign that you gave me when we were last here, it's right by my front door. So every time I go into my home or out, I think of you. So I pretty much think of you and Tanya every day now. Yeah, it's lovely, and I always send you lots of love. So how are you feeling, Rob, just physically at the moment in your body? Where are you at?
Oh, I'm basically the same, just my senses have eased a little bit, but everything else is basically the same. Like my muscles still keep twisting, like what do you call it when you have a cramp?
It feels like that all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Oh, Rob, and your hand's still shaking a lot, so
Yeah,
that would absolutely stop you being able to do the fine work you were doing.
Yes.
Looking, and tell us a bit about that job. That job, you took this jab to be able to keep helping people in the job you love. Just recap for people who don't know yet. What was your job and the reason you took this jab?
Yeah, well, my job was helping people. I was on the front line for the DHB, and I was supporting people with eye problems. I took the jab a while back because it was we were pretty coerced or told we needed to have it.
You were forced. The frontline health workers were forced.
Yes.
And pretty much straight away you noticed your health was going downhill.
Yeah. A little while later things started going different in my body, yeah.
And the DHB that you worked for, have they come through for you? Because I would really like to be able to interview somebody there if they're not providing financial help, because they also forced you to take it to be able to do your job, didn't they?
Yes. No,
have they come through with money or help?
No, they put me up to go on to the sickness benefit. So we're still battling with that at the moment. We're just about there though, done all our paperwork and so on.
This is how many months later after the jab?
This is 6-7 months.
It might be even a bit longer.
Yeah,
might be
9
coming
months.
up for a year,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that shocking? In a year, the government help has been anything or nothing in a year?
Just a little bit, $98 a week.
$98 a week.
When my rent's over $500 a week. Yeah, so it's a bloody struggle.
I'm going to deal with that point straight away, Rob. When we were last here, it absolutely broke my heart. There aren't many interviews where I've finished and I couldn't even hold it back. I've cried in cars after I've interviewed people, but I just broke down here. And we never put that out on film, but it was because you were telling me, sitting here massively injured from a jab you were forced to take, that you were possibly going to have to live in your car, and you said it with no self-pity at all. With 2 girls and your wife, you were going to live in your car and sell everything in this home and live that way because of what this jab had done. And in all of the darkness that I've seen in New Zealand in this time from this government, I've also seen the most beautiful support from Kiwis, because I know that from that interview, from all the comments, so many Kiwis love you and support you, and I just trust that there was some financial help that they offered you at that time as a result of that interview. Is that right? There was help?
Yes, there was great help, and I'd like to say thank you to everyone that has given and supported, because without you we'd be on the road, because we're still not getting enough from the government to pay our rent.
To live, and you're jab injured, and you were willing to work, and you were this independent man with great dignity. So do you want to look down the camera and just say something to those Kiwis who supported you?
Yeah. Hey, guys, I just want to say a big thank you from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of myself and my family, my children, my wife and my grandchildren. Thank you so much, because we're still able to pay our rent on time because of your giving and your love and support. So thank you so much.
That's beautiful, Rob, and I know it wasn't easy for you to accept help that day. You didn't even feel you deserved it, and I persuaded you, but it is a form of love. You give a lot of love, but I think a form of love is also being able to receive it. And this country is still such a fine country if we can just get the right leadership back in, not a cruel leadership. So I also want to say a very huge thank you to everybody who saw the last interview and helped. I want to add here that if people would like to, we'll put that account up. It would really be good to be able to ensure that Rob can have enough to live on while he's sorting out with the government the generous payment that the government should be paying him. I will say this, we did an interview with Marama, a beautiful woman in South Auckland who was also struggling, and the government came after her because I mentioned it on Counterspin. They came after her that week and they said, if you take 1 more cent from Liz Gunn's interview from the offerings, then we won't give you any funding at all. And if this government does this to Rob, I promise you, to the government, we will make that the most enormous story, because that would be absolutely scandalous. I vow I will get that into mainstream media somehow, because that would be scandalous to punish this family who have suffered so much. So I just say, Rob, if anybody wants to give to you, wonderful. And we'll put the number up at the end, because this has kept a roof over your head.
Yes.
Our wider Kiwi family. All right, I want to go to the Freedom Village. Can you tell me what that was like? Because I saw some images of you there the day before the invasion. And I said to my son, man, Rob's looking better. We'd been in touch a bit, but he's looking better. And you were looking very snappy in a nice top and a very cool outfit. And I saw Leighton Baker talking to you. He had a nice conversation, didn't he?
Yeah.
What was it like when you first went to the village and there was lots of, joy in that village?
Yeah, it was, to me, you could feel the love, you could feel the support, the passion. There was all sorts of people there, normal Kiwi, working families, that have lost their jobs and so on.
Wait a minute, weren't they a river of filth according to the government?
Oh, that's what you hear every day though, but totally the opposite when you're there.
Totally,
it was totally the opposite, yeah.
It was a disgusting thing this government said.
Yeah.
Disgusting, and she's never backed down. But yeah, they were beautiful, kind Kiwis. They were you and me, weren't they? They were just us. They were people like us.
Yeah, it was people, ordinary people you wouldn't even expect us to talk to on the streets, because we were so busy living life. But down there was so full of love and unity.
Yeah. And the kids were running around everywhere having fun.
Kids were all happy, yes. Yeah. It was great to be there, and we knew, you could feel the love and the anxiety, because people were there for their future. Yes. People were sort of there for looking for hope, looking for answers, really. And
looking for a life again. Lots of people down there were people who'd been mandated out of jobs.
Yes.
Were there many others you found who were talking to you about their jab injuries, Rob? Did people come up and talk? Yes, I met a few people that had family members that were suffering after the jabs. But it was really, it was heartfelt. It really warmed the heart if you were there amongst it. Yeah, it was very beautiful. And then the second, what happened on that terrible, terrible day when the police, with the government's approval, and the mainstream media approval, they moved in? Yeah. What happened? I was probably 10 metres from the front line, because I'm a nosy guy. I was prepared. You're a what guy? I'm a nosy guy. Ah, you're nosy. So I had to be, you got yourself at the front? Yeah. Man. But my goal was to get down there earlier, but I went down to represent those that are vaccinated. I got in touch with some people, but they were sick at the same time, so it took me a while, a few weeks to be able to be well enough to go down. So I went down in the last couple of days. And then what happened when you woke that morning on the 2nd? Did you see it on the news or online? Oh wow, they're moving in. Let's get there, Tanya. How did you know that the police were moving in that day? Oh, we were already down there. I took a friend. He was my bodyguard. Ah, nice. Yeah, okay. So we flew down, and on that morning we went straight in, and you could just feel the atmosphere. Yeah. Yeah, they changed and turned, and they were on the front line, and a lot of pushing, shoving, and then you just hear, it sounded like real war. I don't know what war is, but it's just like explosions and guns, and you could see people. There was about 20 people lying by me that are all screaming because they had smoke in their eyes and everything else. What about your eyes, Rob? Did you get the spray in your eyes? No, I was covered. I was covered, and because it was on a bit of a hill,
at the front line. From the front line, I was ready to roll. So I just let my brake off and rolled down to the other end.
My God. And what did you do in the midst of what was, in effect, a war, that these people were unleashing warlike tactics on unarmed protesters? There were brutal hitting with the shield and hitting with batons and sprays. What did you do in the middle of all that? Because you told me this.
Yeah, I was actually covered, because from the front line, between the front line and myself, there was a couple of vehicles. So I was pretty safe. Once it started happening, people were just running down the hill screaming. There was a lot of fear and tension, and you could just hear. I was talking to a lot of people I didn't even know. What's going on? Oh man, they look like demons. Couldn't even explain it. I looked at them and go, wow, I was just shocked.
You told me that you, later in that day, spoke to groups of policemen. Tell me about that.
So when they started pushing everyone down the hill, I rolled down because I didn't want to get hurt. And I went down to the other front line. It was the back line, really, where they had bollards in the middle of the street. And in that scene, you just start to lose yourself because of all the anger and all the paranoia, I guess, that people are just freaking out and going all over the place.
What do you mean by lose yourself? What do you mean by that?
I mean, all the anger builds up.
Yes.
All the anger, because you're seeing people, I see people that have been hit and bowled over by police.
And they've got
elderly,
no weapons at all on them.
And they were elderly just sitting there. That's what got me. Elderly, white, pink, whatever colour, they were just getting bashed for nothing. That's what got me. That's what got a lot of us, probably all of us. Shocking. So I ended up asking the police, they were down the other end, the other line. There's about 100 and something of them. And I was just rolling past on my wheelchair and yelling at them. You guys are double vax? Yes, I'm double vax. Look at me, I'm buggered, my life, my kids, I can't do anything. And I just started screaming at them, went to the next 10 and started doing that all along the line.
And what was the reaction, Rob?
I could see in their eyes they were crying. A lot of them were crying. Some of them weren't, they were just there to do what they had to do. But it really touched me because a lot of them were broken. They were breaking down when I was looking at them, just yelling at them about the vax, and look at myself. There's thousands of us suffering. All you need to do is say no, turn around, walk away. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking.
What a message. What a message. We're recording this on Anzac Day, and this is probably the greatest tribute we could possibly do to what our fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers did. They never wanted a New Zealand where we have tyranny from politicians backed up by brutal, thuggish police. They didn't fight for us to have that New Zealand. Look at your courage, Rob. Were you scared rolling along there? Were you frightened for yourself, or was it just a bigger thing that...
It's bigger than me. I was there to stand for people that were vaccinated. You get to that point where you don't care. I was more about the people that day.
And you touched these police. You touched
the
their
police,
hearts.
yeah. They even pushed me across the road because the bollards were coming over and rocks and all that, and they started pushing all the crowd back into the central city because things were just going off.
And what, they pushed you over so that you'd be safe?
Yeah, I told them, just leave me, I'm okay. You
didn't care for your own safety?
I didn't care because when you're in that scene, you just, everything just goes, you just, my heart was more for everyone else that's suffering. My heart was for I was crying for my own family here because I was down there in the middle of this chaos, and it looked like they didn't give a damn about anyone until I started speaking to them and touching their hearts. Yeah, it really changed me, my thoughts when I saw a lot of them break down, but they still stood their ground. They had to.
They didn't have to. They could have given up their jobs right then and there. They could have said, I won't be part of it. But when you say it changed your thinking, it changed your heart, tell me more about that. What was the effect?
Oh, it's just when you're in the middle of something like that, because your heart goes for the people. I've just seen people get bashed over and sprayed in the eyes, and they're screaming, they can't see. People running around in fear, kids. There were a lot of kids in there, you didn't know who was sleeping in the tents when they rammed through. That's where my heart went, to the people. I witnessed elderly, young, getting bashed and beaten up for nothing. Just sitting there. Some weren't even standing, some were sitting.
It's disgusting.
Just getting bashed. Yeah.
There's a there's a letter that my father wrote in World War II, and it was in the Alexander Turnbull Library. My son found it, his grandson found it, and his best mate had just been killed in Greece, and he's talking about it in this letter, and he's describing it, and he says exactly what you said. He said, I just didn't even care for my own safety then. The only thing that mattered was burying my buddy, my copper, standing up for him. And that's exactly what you did that day.
Wow.
Exactly what you didn't care about your own safety. You stood for everybody who wants a better New Zealand. Rob, you're a pretty special guy.
Well,
You're a pretty special guy.
It's a special day today, and that all reflects that as well.
So how did you feel when you came back from Wellington? You must have felt quite traumatised by all of that.
Yeah, it was a bit in shock and just overwhelmed by what I witnessed. It was just terrible. We wouldn't want anyone to go through that. I'm glad my family wasn't there.
I asked you this last time, just go into that leaving of Wellington and thinking about what kind of Prime Minister could have ordered this. Could you again just say a message down that camera to Jacinda Ardern about what she should have acknowledged that day that you saw with your own eyes? Could you say that, Rob?
Yeah, just a word to government basically that there's a lot of families, a lot of trauma, a lot of hurt. There police officers, there's everyone was there. Everyone was there. We're all under the same umbrella of needing guidance, needing support, and you were just there. You guys are just lining your pockets, so you guys really work for us. But we've been in lockdown how long? 2 years of suffering, pain, and we're still suffering. We're still battling just to pay our rent and live life, become normal. So it's time for change. It's time for change.
So what was it like when you saw what the government and the head of the police and the media said after Wellington, which was basically the total opposite of what you've described? They described the police as heroic. They described the protesters as virtually kind of semi-criminals or filth or all these disgusting terms for middle New Zealand and normal Kiwis. What did you feel when you saw all those lies afterwards?
Yeah, heart-wrenching because they've always been, that's always been their talk. We were filth, we were chucking feces, all that stuff. I never saw any of that. They were the ones that blocked the road for them to clean the toilets out. They were the ones that blocked everyone from cleaning and doing everything else.
And it's well known there were government plants on that last day lighting fires, and probably they were the ones who chucked the feces. It's all been twisted on its head. Yeah. Where do you go with that, Rob? Because I truly went into about a month of deep grief after March the 2nd. I just felt this can't be happening in New Zealand, that we're being run by liars and people of no ethical standing, no morality, no inner moral code. How do you cope with that? Because you're a man of great faith, and look at the challenges you're having. But how did you cope with it?
Yeah, it's not easy, eh? I've got my family to support me. I've got the love here and guidance from my family and my church as well. I guess I just got to lean on God. He has the last say. But my heart goes out to everyone that's been through all that damage and still going through it. Because we still are. We still got to carry on and try and live. Everyone's still suffering. I'm still going through stuff myself and my family. We're both not working. It's not an easy road.
Tell us about your beautiful Tanya, because we're going to add the interview we did last time. We're going to add that in when we put out this interview. How is Tanya coping? She's such a special woman. Yeah,
she's she's coping, but I know it's not easy. Especially for parents trying to provide, bring up your family as best you can, but now we're unable to work.
Well, you can't work and you need somebody in the house to help you. So it makes sense, surely the government would pay Tanya, who's been mandated out of her job, pay her to be here helping you, because that means they don't have to pay someone to come in from the outside to help. Is that the sort of rational, normal thinking that you're finding in WINS? Are they going, oh, your wife's been mandated out of work, oh well, let's have her look after you at home? Well, have you found that sort of attitude?
No, it's totally the opposite. They're looking for someone else to come and look after me. So it's a weird how things work. Obviously you think that your partner or your wife or husband will be here, they're supporting you, they know your needs, and they know she's been caring for me, but they're still putting her on the go back to work. What do you call
The
it?
job seeker.
Job seeker.
But she's got a job here to look after you. So they're saying they won't pay for her to help you survive because of their jab. She has to go and get a job for someone else, and then meantime a stranger comes in to help you.
Yes.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
That makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
I'd love to come into WINS with you if I could. I'd love to if that would help at all. Maybe we could ask them if they would give us an interview on this. Yeah. If you need that, I would be really happy to do that, because as someone with a background in journalism, that's an interview we should run, because that's something that has no sense to it at all, no logic.
Yeah. No, you're right. No sense at all.
Keep that in your back pocket if you need us to do that. Yeah. I'd really love to talk to the WINS people about that, and hire to the government too. We'd love to have an interview with you, Jacinda Ardern. And again here, if you would ever come to this home, if you contact me, I can arrange that, and you could meet Rob in person, who's one of our leading jab injury cases. And I would love to film you meeting Rob as part of your electioneering. You could show the country that you're willing to do that, Jacinda Ardern. That would be a good thing to see. Rob, what about other benefits for you? Are you being given, I presume you're being given a sickness benefit straight away, knowing that this was caused by the jab? Have you been put on a sickness benefit? No,
it was taking a few months, and I'm still getting drips and drabs.
What, they haven't put you directly on a sickness benefit, but no. You're really sick?
Well, it looks sick, but yeah, I'm not on a sickness benefit.
What are they saying? What benefit have they put you on?
I wouldn't have a clue, actually. I'll just get $98 a week. I don't think that's a sickness.
You're not on the same job seeker benefit as Tanya, are you? You're not expected to go out and find work, are you?
I'm not quite sure, because things change every day. I get so many people ringing me from WINS. You need this, you need that, you need your bank statements. So I say, well, that's your guys' job. Oh, you know, I've given all the info, but where are we now? Because we're still struggling, can't even pay the rent.
When I first came in here this morning, Tanya said she's had to fill out a wad of documents this thick. That should be absolutely taken care of for our jab injured. I can't believe this government would do this to people who took the jab because they told them to. They haven't made it easy at all.
No. I mean, how do you expect to live if you can't even get enough to pay your rent? And I'm not a guy to go for handouts.
I know that, and Tanya's the same. Both of you absolutely independent. You both wanted to work. You were both contributing hugely through your jobs.
We still don't get enough to pay the rent. How many months is that? Yeah.
Rob, how do you keep your spirit up? Because you told me last week that I ring you every so often, but you told me you were helping someone else who was really feeling at the bottom, at the end of his rope. He was really feeling down. He was feeling there was no future, and you helped him when you're having all these challenges. What did you say to that man?
I actually explained, because he looked at me like, wow, you're in a wheelchair, you know, because I can walk so far. And I just told him, you know, brother, for me, I don't curse my crisis. So you may look at me, I can't walk far and do much. My body may be buggered, but it's my stepping stone to my future, because I still have a voice. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what changed this brother that was suicidal. Had no hope. But I looked at him and said, what about your kids, man? You know, and that's what saved him. So I always say to people, never curse your crisis, because it could be your stepping stone to your future. What it is for me at the moment, because I've always helped people, and I still am. And I thank God, because I saved another life and a whole family last week. And that's part of our role. It's just being there.
What did that man say to you, Rob?
Oh, he couldn't even say anything, he was just broken. Yeah, we still keep in touch. Every day we're texting, every night. Yeah, we meet every Thursday. And he's still alive. So beautiful. That's my passion. That's what gives me the drive. Keeps me going.
You have a real purpose being here.
Yeah.
You have a real purpose.
I feel I have, yeah. That's what keeps me going. Yes, helping others.
I just feel so grateful you're my friend, Rob. I do. I said that to Steve Oliver the other day too. I just feel so grateful that we've met you. that our little team has met you. It's a real privilege to meet such a fine human being. And I'm going to ask here that anybody who can help put money into Rob and Tanya's account. They hate taking money, and it was I who persuaded them. The government, you must back off because you're not giving these people the help. Once you give them enough help to survive, they won't need the funds, but they need them now. So please, please would you, this is my appeal. Rob hasn't asked me to do this. Please would you put money in the account that we'll put up at the end of this interview. Beautiful to see you again, my friend, and we'll catch up in another month or so, and we'll just keep in touch by phone. Anything else you'd like to say to the people of New Zealand?
Well, keep the faith, keep going. You know, tides are turning slowly. Elections are coming up next year, you know, so we've got to be wise on how we vote, who we vote for. Yeah, it's all in our hands, really. Keep the faith, keep going.